Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to BWTM Sports Gaming. So, as you know, the video was on, I was blue. I've gone back to the original colour, so I'm just going to quickly skip through the video that I did earlier, do it again, and probably delete the old one. So thank you very much for those who are subscribing and liking the videos. Please also make sure that you've hit the notification bell. Just click that you hit the notification bell. That means you know that when every video we go live, you're able to be there. You don't miss a single show. Secondly, it's so important that when you watch these videos, please smash the like button. Really appreciate it. It helps so much. Even if you dislike the video, it's still considered a like or watch or view. So please smash the like button. It seems that the more likes you smash, the more views it gets. The algorithms have changed so much on YouTube. Yes, I think I'm back to my original colors, but while I'm at it as well, I had some problems going live earlier, so I've now I've got somebody behind the scenes at YouTube looking not only at the channel, but looking at why I couldn't go live earlier. But all right, so we'll go back to the first topic, which was Mike Tyson versus Lennox Lewis. There's been an announcement, so I'm repeating the video again. Big announcement that Mike Tyson has said he had 3 people he wanted to fight. I believe he wanted to fight Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, and Tyson Fury. I think so. Those were his 3 fights. He said after those 3, once he had those 3 fights, he's done. I think he wanted to fight Tyson Fury in an exhibition bout. So if Tyson Fury's an exhibition bout, tell me what Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis are. I thought they're all exhibition bouts, but that's just me. So those are the 3 fights that Mike Tyson was saying he would like to have. So, like I said in my previous video, for those who missed it, Lennox said that, there's no need for me to come back. I've beat every misfit in the heavyweight division. But he said that. He said, and my mum said not to box again. So I'm not boxing no more. So no Vitaly Klitschko rematch. I'm not coming back. So he said that. Then Lennox then turned around and says, if you want me to box again, you're gonna have to bring out 100 million. So there's that one. Then you'd hear Lennox say things, guys like Holyfield, they're going on way too long in boxing. I'm gonna do it the right way. I'm gonna do it like Marvin Hagler. I'm gonna retire and that'll be that. Now he's seeing all these people coming out of retirement, and it's when I remember when I was talking about that Master League of Boxing and all these old fighters coming out. One of the reasons why a lot of these old fighters are coming out is because yesteryear's fighters had personality and they could actually box. They had class, they had style. And a lot of these older guys, while they might not be as young as the younger guys, technically they are better than today's fighters. Inside fighting, outside fighter, far more all-round, far more technically gifted. That yes, Alexander, good to see you in the room. Far more gifted and talented than today's fighters. Today's fighters may have strength and conditioning and maybe a better condition, but I don't even challenge that because yesterday's fighters were fighting 15 rounds. Today's fighters do 12 rounds, 10 rounds. Yesterday's fighters were fighting more regularly. They were fighting more regularly. So, I don't know. There was not all these gaps where you're having 2 fights a year. These guys are fighting over and over and over again. So, longevity. These guys fought a long time. Look at Sugar Ray Robinson. Look at the sort of fight Sugar Ray Robinson was in. Back-to-back fights against some top fighters as well. So, that's why I give it to the older guys. And the best kind of fought the best more. There's none of this kind of like A-side, B-side nonsense. They've gotten and fought one another. Sidetracking shortly a little bit. But the fact that these guys are all coming back, and now Oscar De La Hoya is coming back. Again, I still said Oscar De La Hoya needs to sit down. But anyway, Tyson, Lewis, September. I personally don't want to see. But if I do see, I hope Mike catches him with something clean. and puts him to sleep. I really do. It'd be nice. And because Lennox Lewis, I want him. I think he did. I think the whole Vitaly Klitschko era, that era would have been, if Lennox Lewis had beaten Vitaly Klitschko, if he cleaned up with Vitaly Klitschko, that would have been nice, because that would have ended an era. Do you understand? But Vitaly went on after that fight with Lennox Lewis. Vitaly went on to be more or less a dominant heavyweight until he retired. So imagine if Lennox had actually come back after that first fight, come back in the second fight and absolutely blitzed Vitaly in that second fight. That would have really been great for his legacy. But Vitaly Klitschko's still there. He's still there. He's still there in my mindset. You understand, Vitaly Klitschko? So the way I look at it is, if you're going to come back, you know, I got rid of all the misfits in boxing. Why do you want to come back and fight Mike Tyson? Come back and fight Vitaly Klitschko. Put it right. Do the right thing. So I really would love to see Lennox and Vitaly put it right. So I think Vitaly post Lennox Lewis, I would say Vitaly Klitschko is by far, for me, is the best heavyweight since Lennox Lewis. Consistently wise, he was the guy at the top, and he was fighting regularly. Not one fight here, 1 year, fight this year, next year. He fought regularly, and I like Vitaly Klitschko. I rated Vitaly Klitschko higher than I rated Vladimir Klitschko. More durable fighter, took a better shot, just ruthless. Like the way he dealt with Corey Sanders, that fight, I still remember that fight when he went to regain the title. The way he blitzed Herbie Hyde, the way he knocked out Danny Williams, the way he beat up Shannon Briggs. I mean, you know, Vitaly put on some performances. He really did. So I always say, yeah, but when you talk about Vladimir Klitschko, Vlad was not a beast because he got knocked out by Corey Sanders, he got knocked out by Ross Purity, and he got knocked out by Lamont Brewster. So you didn't see that with Vitaly Klitschko. Got dropped twice by Samuel Peters, got beat by Tyson Fury. So when you're looking at the two guys' eras, sorry, you can't put Vladimir and Vitaly in the same class. Certainly, never. I think that Vitaly could have gone into any era in the heavyweight, any whether it be Ali's era, whether it be the Tyson era. I think Vitaly Klitschko would have been a problem for any era because of his mental strength, his physical strength, his you know, and for a big man, he did move very well. He had an excellent jab, a really great right hand. Do you know what I mean? He kept within his limits. It was a jab, a right hand, didn't really go too much to the body, kept it long, jab, able to keep distance, did distance very well. Even when he got hit with a great shot, and the big shots he got hit with Lennox Lewis, he was still in there and still fighting. So I just wanted to say that about Vitaly Klitschko for a second. And I would much rather watch Vitaly Klitschko come back and fight in this era than Lennox Lewis. And if Lennox Lewis come back and fight Mike Tyson, I've got my respect for him dwindles every day. But even more so if he came back and he fought Mike Tyson, because I hope Mike comes back fit as ever and just rips through Lennox Lewis. It'd be nice. That'd be very nice. I would really appreciate that. You know, but anyway, it's not sounding like a hater. It's just I don't like when somebody says one thing, then dismisses everyone else. Oh yeah, I'm the big man. I'm the heavyweight champion of the world, and I retired undisputed or whatever. I retired, and you look at all these old guys fighting. I'm set. I've got my money. I'm good. Kind of that kind of vibe. And then now, when people are getting exposure, his ego's flying up now, and he's thinking he's going to come back. For Mike to come out and say something like that, I don't know. Okay, moving on. Derek Del Boy Chisora came out. Derek Del Boy Chisora came out and he made a statement that he doesn't believe that AJ and Fury are going to fight this year. maybe next year, not this year. Which follows up to what I was saying about Kesara Sarah, Gaza, which is Russian, as somebody said here, for an eye for an eye. He posted on his Instagram page. He then comes out and says he wants revenge over Tyson Fury. Then we watch the first training video, and Malik Scott switches from orthodox to southpaw. And I saw it on Instagram post. People asking, who do you think Wilder should fight next? Wait. There's arbitration. The arbitration isn't finished yet. Wilder's still at the table. This crazy man that everyone's talking about, oh, he's crazy. But he seems to have his wits together. He seems pretty good on the pads, putting the shots together quite nicely. He looks better on the pads, moving his head, dealing with the southpaw. When Malik Scott was moving southpaw, he was moving his head. It was very good to see he's moving his head rather than pull his head back. So people will look at that video and criticize Wilder. People who don't know anything about boxing, but for a trained eye will see that Wilder is obviously going for the jab to the head and to the body. And it will be interesting to see how much George Foreman's influence, what George Foreman said to Wilder will be implementing in his way going forward. But it seems clear he wants revenge, and it seems very clear that he's going to get revenge. Well, he's going to get the opportunity to fight Tyson Fury. How that works out, I don't all know. But if the arbitration comes through and he has won that arbitration, and then he's won that arbitration, and Fury can't go and fight Joshua because in the arbitration it says, well, look, mate, you have a contract to honor. You have not honored that contract. And he wasn't Wilder. You have to honor that contract. Then regardless of what boxing fans have got to say and non-legals have got to say, Fury will have to comply and fight Wilder. Because if the AJ fight's not going to happen, where's the money going to come from? And he's got to have 2 fights this year. So the Wilder fight is the most logical fight to have. Aram's saying that he's gone radio dead on Hearn's gone radio dead on him. So basically, he's not hearing anything from Hearn. So Wilder is the most likely opponent, or potentially perfect opponent. So how did you get from Wilder not being mentioned and this crazy man to suddenly Deontay Wilder being back on the table? How the hell did the guy get back on the table? Was he ever off the table in the first place? I said to you all back then, we need to pay attention to Deontay Wilder. Until this guy has been resolved, till this arbitration is solved, until this guy has been proven to be crazy, which means the arbitration comes back and says, no, mate, your contract was expired. No, mate, you've got no leg to stand on. No, mate, you cannot stop Fury fighting Joshua unless those things come back. And, we've still got a problem. But boxing fans seem to live in a land where they believe people who are compound liars. And I don't understand why people would go and talk to Eddie Hearn, who is the promoter of AJ, about what Fury's doing. How can he inform you and say, nah, I don't think that Wilder could fight Fury. It's not going to happen. This is the same guy that stood looking at the camera, down the camera, and on the day of Fury versus Wilder and said, nah, I don't think that fight's going to happen. This is the guy we trust to deliver AJ versus Fury, who's already messed up Wilder versus Joshua. This guy, his track record ain't good for delivering massive heavyweight fights like that. Don't talk about Joshua and Klitschko. That's a different situation altogether. We're talking about for Undisputed. The last time Undisputed came round and Matchroom had anything to do with it, what happened? Well, they didn't want it. We all know what happened. Way before then, we know what Bazza Hearn said when he was fishing. We all know what he said. They didn't want to fight Wilder until 2021. We're in 2021. Now's the time that Joshua wanted to fight him. People love a lie. Facts. People love a lie that supports their bias. Of course, you love a lie. So those people who keep saying that Wilder is crazy. Why is the man crazy? Why is the man crazy? Because he wants revenge. Well, he wants revenge. And the thing is, an eye for an eye. The thing about all this eye for an eye stuff, it's not like you beat me fair and square. All right, I'm gonna try and come back and beat you. It's like, it's more than that. It's more than that. I remember when Anthony Joshua spoke about when he got beat by Ruiz, and he talked about backstabbers, and he talked about people within his own circles that he thought were his friends that turned out to be backstabbers and snakes. And if you look at Anthony Joshua's demeanor since that defeat to Ruiz, the comeback, and subsequently, he's not the same guy. Not the same guy. Not in his mannerisms, not in the way he moves himself around. Nah, not anymore. And now, Wilder. This whole thing with Fury. He'll know. You see, the thing is, a lot of these people who talk about getting beat fairly and squarely, half of them have never boxed competitively, one, or two, have never taken part in anything which has got anything to do with competition, or C, because they're so goddamn biased, they cannot fathom or understand or take into their brain cells that there is winning fairly and squarely and there's cheating. And it's not to say that this man Fury career hasn't been shrouded with grey areas of the glove, the Christian Hammer fight. Why was he out of boxing for 2 years? I mean, do we forget these things? Do we forget these things? Do we forget these things? These things that are right in front of our faces. Right in front of our faces. You know, the 2 years being out of boxing. Do we forget that? Do we forget UCAD and all that stuff around UCAD? Do we forget about the referee pulling Fury up about the glove? Do we forget about John McDermott and that whole interview John McDermott had about Fury? Do we forget all about all that? Or is it just me? Or we just don't like to hear certain things because the opponent that Tyson Fury is facing is one which you don't like. You see, fair is fair. Do you understand? Like I said before, if Wilder's come out to be a compound liar, then the book should be thrown at him. But if this man has come out to be telling the truth, and it's in arbitration, and it's been in arbitration for a while, I think we need to start looking and thinking, well, hold on. According to, it's like, I go back to the situation with Dillian Whyte, and I like to go back to the situation historically to bring evidence of things. When I sat down and said Dillian Whyte is going to have to go for the WBC, he's going to go legal about the matter. We had the legal experts in here, sarcastically, the legal experts were in this room, and they said to me, nah, wasting time. He's not going to get his title shot. Wasting time. Went to court, and the WBC said, yeah, okay. Yeah. And before you knew it, White was mandatory. Yes, he wouldn't have got knocked out by Povetkin. That's his problem. But the bottom line was, boxing is run by crooks. It always has been, and mafia. It's always been run. It's never been the cleanest sport in the world. So these people can't trust them. And we've been told over and over again how dirty this sport is. So who to trust, I don't know. But I damn well know it's in arbitration. It's been in arbitration for a while. According to these people, Fury versus Joshua should have been delivered already. Hasn't been delivered. Wilder's still at the table. The arbitration is still going on. And now we're hearing about Wilder being the perfect opponent should the Joshua fight fall through. And as for the Joshua fight, as I said yesterday, if Usyk versus Joyce is made, then you know Joshua's going to fight Fury. Otherwise, why is Usyk and Joyce not fighting? Like as I said yesterday, if Joyce and Usyk fight, You know, Undisputed is around the corner. But if Usyk has the opportunity as mandatory challenger to face Joshua, why would you put yourself through that hell to fight Joyce? Why? Why? Derek Chisora already told you before that Joshua and Fury weren't going to happen. Said it before. And he's saying it again. But it's okay. We'll wait and see whether Joshua versus... If it gets delivered, fine. But like I said, I'm a man that likes to see justice done. And I would like to see the third fight because that was contracted. It was put in place. Regardless of what you boxing fans want to see, it was put in place. There was a 3-fight deal to put on. 3-fight contract. That was it. It was there. So it seems to me that contract is very much valid, because if it wasn't valid, we wouldn't be still in arbitration going into May. So the reply, the answer will be in May. And if Wilder is turned around saying an eye for an eye, and he's back in training now, and to me, there doesn't look like an ounce of fat on that man. And Fury looks fit and ready to go as well. So, could it be that we see Wilder versus Fury 3? Get that out of the way for Fury to beat Wilder again. Then that makes it even bigger fight, because Wilder's out of the way. Fury doesn't have to pay out even more money. Because how much would he have to pay out? I understand he's still paying Wilder now. How much money would he have to pay out if he skipped Wilder and a contract that's in place in America to go and fight Joshua? How much money? 75 million is what they're touted to get at the moment, plus the rest. How much of that 75 million is Wilder entitled to? And then how much money would Fury actually be fighting for if he went and fought Joshua, if he had to pay, if he was being paid, had to pay Wilder? That's the question. Those are questions that nobody's prepared to ask. So there's no point in asking Eddie Hearn, because he doesn't have the big picture. He doesn't have the full picture. So those are my thoughts on those areas. Josie Parker versus Derek Chisora. Something else I definitely want to talk about. I hear people talk about Josie Parker and what... I missed the YouTube man's... My YouTube behind the scene man is just piped up. This is what I say. Okay. Right, he'll be back. So, yeah, people are still talking about Josie Parker, the Josie Parker that got bullied by Chisora, the Josie Parker that didn't look great in some of those fights. But I think it's because of the trainer, Kevin Barry. Didn't think he was that great a trainer anyway. I'm glad that Parker's got rid of him. So now I expect Parker to be able to use more footwork to make Chisora miss, make him pay. Chisora's the kind of guy that if you let him get on top of you, he's dangerous, but he's also the type of guy that you can counter punch and he leaves himself wide open. And he punches himself out, Chisora. If you watch carefully in fights, Chisora punched himself out against Hay. He punched himself out the second fight against Dillian White. That's because he was missing those big winging shots. Parker, for me, should win this fight. He should win the fight. Former world champion. He fought Ruiz, and I thought Ruiz beat him. I thought Fury beat him. But I think a rejuvenated Parker under Andy Lee, and obviously getting tips from Tyson Fury, I do believe that that will be the difference in walk on something quite nasty and get knocked out by Chisora. Get knocked out. Parker's knocked Chisora out using slipping out the way and counting. That's what I expect to see from Parker. He's got the faster hands. He's got the faster hands. I think he's the bigger puncher of the two, more explosive puncher. I think we might see more of the explosive Joseph Parker in this fight, because the dynamics and the footwork and all stuff, I think working with Andy Lee, that's going to help. I really do think Lee's going to make a difference, because I believe that Parker's been on a shelf for a while doing the same old things in training. So, yeah, and I don't think Parker can afford to mess up against Derek Chisora. So, I expect Parker to do a much better job this time round against Chisora. I really do. So those are my thoughts on that. Natasha Jonas, I'm giving her a good chance against Katie Taylor in that fight. Congratulations to Felix Cash, by the way. His fight against Denzel Bentley. See Bentley, he did very well there. Very impressed with him. Also, Daniel Dubois is now training with Mark Tibbs. Don't know if that's really going to work out for me. I think that he needs a guy like Virgil with him, honestly. I really do. I think he needs care and he needs time. And I'm not sure. I'm not saying those guys can't do it, but I'm not sure if they're suited for Daniel Dubois. Daniel Dubois, very much to me, is a no disrespect, but he seems to me mentally very young, and I think he needs to be put in cotton wool at the moment and mentored and taken literally step by step through everything a little slower. Not saying Daniel Dubois got problems. I'm just saying that you have to understand certain fighters, and I think he needs a little more slower. He needs more. He needs more care. So the best light heavyweight in the world, Bivol, is coming to. He's going to be in the UK fight against Craig Richards. Levels. There are levels to boxing, and Craig Richards is a good British fighter, but Bivol's an elite fighter, and I expect Bivol to do a number on Craig Richards. Richards may start well, but as soon as Bivol finds his rhythm, it's going to be a painful night for Mr. Richards. It's what it is. I don't rate his chances highly at all. I think he's just another one of these guys that are just not ready. And Bivol's an exceptional fighter. I'm glad to see Callum Johnson is back. That's I'm really good. Glad to see him back as well. Happy to see he's back in boxing, and I think he's a dangerous guy, light heavyweight. I tell you what, I wouldn't mind seeing after about 3 or 4 good fights. I would like to see Joe Smith against Callum Johnson. That would be an absolute tear up. Joe Smith, Callum Johnson for the light heavyweight championship of the world. What a fight that would be. What a fight that would be. You say that Craig Richards look like he's been pushed into the fight. Yeah, well, that's what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. When you with that outfit, Matchroom, you will get put into fights that you don't belong in. It's what it is. And they don't care. They don't care about their fighters. They don't care. A guy that I have high hopes on to becoming a champion of the world is Lyndon Arthur. I think he's got a good chance of becoming light heavyweight champion. And I keep talking about this guy, Isaac Chamberlain. I believe he's very quietly doing his work. And I think that at cruiserweight, Isaac Chamberlain is a sleeping giant. I really believe that. I believe that so wholeheartedly. But he's kept very quiet, Isaac Chamberlain. And I've got a lot of respect for Isaac Chamberlain. And I've again talked to my brother, Isaac Chilembe. His fight against what's the guy? I totally thought the guy went and fought in Russia. Beat the crap out of the Russian, but they gave it a draw. Oh, what's his name again? Oh, I can't remember the guy's name. I can see him now. So yeah. You're right, Ruben. He has only just fought he won the British title, and now he's fighting the best in the division. Yeah, but that's typical of Matchroom. He has no business being in the ring there. No business whatsoever being in the ring with Bivol. It's got no business being in the ring with Bivol. But we keep on doing this. But I guess it's a way of honoring your contract, isn't it? If I say in your contract that I have to deliver your world title shot, and you haven't got any real manager of note, where are these guys' managers? Where the hell are these guys' managers? You know, who is managing these guys? Who's advising these boxers to make these suicidal moves? Who? I mean, I don't get it. What happened to the best interest of the fighter? What happened to the best interest of the fighter? Where did that go? I guess the promoter will say, look, I'm only a promoter. I'm only a promoter. So what are these guys saying? You know, what have they been told behind closed doors? You got to take this fight, mate. You know, there's nothing else on the table for you. And even if you lose this fight, mate, nonsense, really. But those are my thoughts on it. Okay, so that's it. I think that's about it. The Magic Cup for this fight must be hefty. Quite possibly. Must be. Must be. Right, let me get out of here. I think I've gone on enough. Thank you all much for watching. As always, this has been BWTM Sports. Don't forget to smash the like button while you're watching. Smash the subscribe button. Smash the notification bell. I'll talk to you soon. Much love. Take care.